There is no element of sacrifice or giving. Love is simply not present. To fully understand love, we have to go back to the author. In 1 John 4, verse 8, the Bible simply says, God is love. It's not just one of the things He does, that's what He is. And there's no better place that defines love than John 3:16. God so loved the world that He gave. Because He loved the world, He gave. And His giving was proof that He loved the world. And that's where we get love all wrong. What we define as love these days is what we derive satisfaction or pleasure from. And so we say things like, I love food, or I love cheesecake, or I love that movie. You don't love that movie. You like how that movie makes you feel. You don't love cheesecake. You love the pleasure that you derive from eating cheesecake. It's not the same as God's love. God's love gives and expects nothing back. Our love takes, and that is the big difference. Our love is predicated on what it receives. So if you treat me nice, I'll be nice to you. If you do good to me, I'll do good for you. One good turn deserves another. But that's simply not love in its purest form. There's another word for that. That's more like a transaction. That's not God's love. The Greek understood that we simply can use the same word for saying I love food, and I love my wife, and I love my family, and I love God. We simply can't use that same word. And so they came up with words like storge. Storge meaning family love. You know, that protective love that a father has for his son. Phileo meaning familiar love, friendship love. And there is eros meaning romantic love, passionate love, husband and wife kind of love. And then there is agape love. And agape love is God's love for us, which is unconditional love. And that's love in its purest form. And so when Christ was on earth, He gave His disciples a new commandment. He said, this new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I have loved you. But a couple times before, He said, love your neighbor as yourself. But in this new commandment, He's taking the self element away. He's saying, no. Don't love them like you love yourself. Love them like I have loved you. And we know that God's love is agape, unconditional. And so He's saying, go out there and love them like I have loved you. He said, don't love them expecting anything in return. I mean, if you look at 1 Corinthians 1 verse 13, the very famous book of love, it said, love is patient, love is kind, love is long-suffering, love is not puffed up, love endures all things, love bears all things, love does not keep records. All of that is about the person. All of that is about the object of love. All of that has nothing to do with us. But what has happened in the world today is that has reversed. And so love has not become about the person anymore. Love has become about us. And that's why people say they love things. No, they like how those things make them feel. They don't necessarily love them because love is sacrificing. So they're not sacrificing for anything. They just love the pleasure they derive from consuming that thing. So that's the ultimate challenge of love. When you say you love something or you love someone, are you really just saying you love how it makes you feel? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just that is not the original picture for love. That's not God's definition of love, because love in its purest form is giving. Love in its purest form is sacrificing and expecting nothing back.